Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and this is my favorite, mi favorito. This is my favorite time of the day. It's the wee hours. So, welcome to the channel. If you haven't been to this channel before and it's your first time, welcome. And so, you may know, if you didn't know, now you know that the wee hours, this is my absolute favorite time of the day. I would call it the power hour. It's the time where I feel the most relaxed, where I get the best answers to my own questions, where I can hear my own onboard intelligence. And it's a great time to tune in, the best time to set the tone for the entire day. And all you really have is today. Your body is your life is a succession of days. So this is the best time. It's quiet. There's not a whole lot of demands for your attention. So in getting up earlier and restructuring your day to get up earlier, you can really leverage your time and perhaps be more productive. It may take some getting used to, but I have found, you may find, I invite you to, try it on for size. I have found that it's one of the best things that I do for myself is getting up early in the day. I got enough time to get into a movement practice. I got enough time to beautify my space and prepare my healthy food for myself. It's the best time of the day. So, welcome. Do feel free to subscribe to the channel if you find some value here, or perhaps share it with someone that could, use a positive support, right? And some encouragement to upgrade your consumption, right? The things that you're putting into your precious body temple. If you're concerned about your skin, which look in the comments, you'll see what my skin was looking like. And if you're concerned with your health. And also, if you're concerned with anxiety or feeling really stressed out, all these things will show up in our consumption patterns and how we're feeding ourselves. So, relaxation is something that I really encourage. It doesn't have to be a big production, it could be as simple as taking the time to be very intentional about deep breathing with a purpose, right? To ground you into this body, to calm down and to reclaim your focus and the very valuable currency of your attention. There are many things that are competing for us to spend the currency of our attention outward, and it can leave us feeling very depleted. So, welcome to the channel. If you're interested in gardening, eating beauty food, for vitality, for longevity, for your mood. Those are the things that I share on this channel. Peaceful consumption is what I like to call it. And if you choose the other things, at least perhaps consider least harm possible to your own precious vehicle, right? That is the vehicle that drives around your essence, and then extending it out to the planet and the creatures. So you know what that is when you're by yourself. No labels necessary. So that relaxation in a time where you see so many makeup tutorials and level up channels, and I wouldn't say I'm so much anti anything. I like to focus on more on what I'm for, because it's easy to be against something, and your values and even how you feel about things will more than likely change as you accrue more life experience on your journey, right? Your food choices may change. So many things are going to change and to evolve. So that's between you in your quiet moments. Relaxation, though, I consider relaxation and health my number one beauty products, because when I'm more relaxed, I can be much more conscious and intentional about the things that I am choosing. Even sometimes we may think that we don't have choice, but I would say all that we have is choice, though sometimes we may not be aware that we're being very mindless and very autopilot about how we're moving about through the day. So, relaxation can help you intentionally pull back in, and it's free. It's something you have access to because all of us are breathing. That's totally free. So I encourage a lot of relaxation. It may seem like relaxation. What kind of beauty product is that? I consider it number one because it's getting to the root. It's easy to put things on top of things, right? To cover up um, with makeup or cover up with clothes and squish ourselves, into clothes or Spanx. And again, I'm not making those things bad or wrong. However, if you tune into your own divine onboard intelligence, you can really be guided as to, you know, is that is that curing? Is that giving you the sense of peace, right? These are things we can do, we can cover up. But is it really giving you totally what you're looking for? So I have found, and I'm sure I'll be on this journey for the rest of my life, and it's a good use of my time. I found when I can be much more aware, right? When I'm moving with awareness, I'm much more efficient. I don't have to waste time and my discernment is turned up, right? So I don't have to buy everything, I don't have to do everything. I can be more intentional about choosing what is for me, whether that's food, people. I can just be much more efficient with my time and not moving about so scattered. Relaxation and health, but relaxation is my number one beauty product. So I encourage that a lot on this channel. You can make so much better choices when you are relaxed. You may not be so pressured by all the outside forces that are competing for your attention, right? Listening to this channel, listen to this guru, listen to this person. I'm just one woman sharing my perspective. Nothing I say is the truth. I'm just sharing one woman's perspective. And this is coming from somebody that has had loads of acne and who I really enjoy my natural skin and my eyebrows and my nails. So, mindless eating versus mindfulness. So, as someone that has worked in the fitness profession for many years as a fitness coach and fitness competitor, personal trainer, someone who's classically trained as a chef, and that also loves preparing healthy beauty food, right? Um, I noticed with all these things and all these supplements, even living for many years, consuming whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods. And even when I used to eat flesh, I've had a focus on healthy eating for, wow, over 3 decades. Still, there's something, right? There is still something missing. There's still something missing, which is why it's such a profitable business. And I found that even with all the healthy foods, and you can even see this in with raw foods, even vegetarian foods, right? One of my most jacked up times with my skin, I was actually a vegetarian. Actually, I was actually vegan. I was eating so much health junk. So I'm going to share you one of my gems. And that is you can still be consuming all of these, whether it's cooked food, whether it's raw food, whether it's raw pies and gourmet, you can still be consuming a lot of these different things mindlessly. And when we're mindless, we're on automatic pilot. There's a certain mind frame, there's a mentality that we're functioning from when we're consuming mindlessly. That's showing us, that's a communication. That's telling us something. So when we sit and relax, right, with our intentional, relaxed breathing, contemplation is when we ask a question of ourselves, of not the conscious part of you that's listening right now, but your quiet part of your communication. I like to call it your own divine onboard innate intelligence. You can ask a question. If you perhaps may notice, or you may not be aware that you're eating more than a portion. I have so many alarms. One of my alarms is going off. Excuse me. I'm going to grab some water and I'm going to turn that alarm off. And I have several things that I would like to share. One of my relaxing alarms. So with mindfulness and mindlessness, you may not notice that you're consuming all of these health foods, all of these avocados, all of these nuts mindlessly. And so, although I don't count calories per se, I do understand the science, and there have been times when I've done it as a fitness competitor and have done it, work with that with clients. It has given me another level of awareness so that I don't have to. And so many of us are not aware, even with healthy foods, of just how much we're consuming. We may be consuming enough fatty foods, even so called healthy fatty foods, for 3 or 4 people in a state of mindlessness. Not that we're trying to hurt ourselves, usually we're trying to comfort ourselves, but consuming too much heavy foods, even if you want to call it vegan, um, it really takes its toll on the body because we're giving the body so much work to do to digest these foods. Digestion is one of the processes of the body that takes a lot of energy, a lot of life force, currency, a lot of voltage, a lot of wattage to break down and digest and metabolize and then pass out all the waste and assimilate all the nutrients of these healthy foods. But too much food is just too much food. And we're actually getting something. So I invite you to suspend judgment for a moment and just to be aware, kind of like if you're just watching a child, to understand why they're doing what they're doing with some compassion for yourself, right? So this is something that we're usually not invited to do. You would hopefully do that if you had a new child or something. So there's a balance between firmness, right? But definitely awareness. The foundation, or a foundation I'd like to encourage you in, is to develop an awareness, right? Because it's something that comes up for many women, for all of us, whether you're under eating, whether it's bulimic, whether you're overeating, whether you don't have any labels. Quite often we're using substances, and food is the most socially acceptable, especially if it seems to be healthy food, right? If it's in the health food store, in the health food section, right? If it's a vegan burrito, or if it's, it seems it's healthier or less cholesterol is on the package, then somehow we think that there's, the messaging that we receive, then that's my cue, then I can eat 3 or 4 of them. And we may not pay attention to the things in there that are bloating us, or that we may not notice the cues of when we're eating too much, because the reason that quite often we're eating it is not for nutrition. The reason quite often we're eating it is to soothe ourselves like a pacifier, and invite you not to make that or yourself bad or wrong. I invite you to have a healthy bit of curiosity, like, hmm, I wonder, and I invite you to, that's why I love the quiet. It's a listening. It's a listening to the undertone, the undertone. What's really happening? What's the real underlying motivation of while I'm eating? And so I invite you, that's a whole journey. So that's a lot, that's a tremendous amount of information. I would invite you to consider there are several things that are missing. And without getting quiet and listening, we can stay on the host role of dieting, right? And I invite you to consider that there's a state of quiet and peacefulness that we can have around eating. And I invite you to consider eating not too much, not too little, just the amount, just right, just for you. Was not putting a strain on your digestive organs where, this tastes nice, but it's just enough, because food is fuel first and foremost. And it can be beautiful, it can be delicious, it can be sweet, salty, sour, spicy. Quite often we're eating from pleasure, right? For pleasure. However, we're using it as a substitute, or to overcompensate for the fact that we may not be feeling pleasure or sweetness in other areas of our life, or to overcompensate for the fact that we may be feeling very disappointed, or hopeless or anxious or nervous about our life. So we can use the food, and we're encouraged and programmed to use food in that way. So I invite you maybe to perhaps consider trying off the sides. Let's pause on food and let's just interject the word energy, right? The energy consumption. We're consuming fuel, we're consuming energy, and we're trying to usually make ourselves feel something, feel, and sometimes not feel with what we're eating, with these things that are coming out of wrappers, right? Caught up and not even stuff coming out of the ground. And then we've been programmed, right? And kind of um, our taste buds have been kind of exploited with massive amounts of salt. So, by the way, some of the things we do in the cocoon and that we go over in the nutrition classes, which you can inquire about those, nutrition, mindful nutrition, and the mindful nutrition, and also movement, right? Checking in with cultivating our movement practice. Those are some of the things that are going to be coming up. So you're welcome to inquire about those. It's coming from a different perspective. This is not coming from a perspective of beat the fat off of yourself or put yourself in a head yoke, to diet. This is different. It's a little different. This is really a listening to yourself. So there's something that I have here, right? My dad, little pause. My dad used to have one of these on the table growing up because my dad is from the Caribbean. Right. And I've mentioned there are quite a few relaxation videos on this channel. And my dad, right? My dad loved the sea and the ocean. Actually, I was actually talking with another Caribbean man yesterday who has a farm about this, and he had all these shells. And my dad had a huge one, much bigger than this, a conch shell from the sea. He had it on the table. My dad used to say, if you put your ear to the shell, you can hear the ocean. And I was like, you can hear the ocean? Because I hadn't been near the ocean when I was little. I was raised in the States, and my siblings, many siblings that were raised in the Caribbean. So when I put my ear to the hollow of it, it's kind of hollow. I could kind of see how he would say that it's the ocean or the sea, but there's like a hollowness in this show. You have to get kind of quiet. So I got this because this makes me think of my dad, and the shell he had on the table wasn't sliced like this one is. But this is all to say, when you're focusing on your breathing and you're quiet, first of all, you have to get quiet to listening. And I know in certain practices of yoga, right, one of the types of breathing I like to do is inhaling and exhaling through the nose, right? So it's like a hollow type breathing. And actually, when you're listening to the conch, it's a hollow kind of sound. So first of all, requires, have a list. It requires quiet and it requires a listening, but it's a hollowness. So the air is kind of circling through your throat, right? You gotta kind of experience it. So it's a quiet breathing. Anything that you have at your disposal that really helps you have an experience of quiet and cultivating quiet is a huge tool in your toolbox. Again, all the things that are vying for our attention that pull us outward are actually a pattern that you'll notice is that they are very noisy. So I don't know if any of you have a conch shell, but now that we put it out there, that might show up on your radar. You might find a conch shell is around you. So that's an exercise. And listening is get a conch shell, or think of the conch shell. If you put it, the hollowness is, first of all, you have to listen, and it's a hollowness. It can kind of give your mind a frame of reference, right, as to the hollowness, the quiet hollowness, and the sound of the ocean when you're near the ocean. So there's the mindless eating, and there's also the mindfulness. The relaxation and the quiet can lead you into being very present and mindful. And so again, in the cocoon, we're going to be going over mindfulness in your eating, because it is actually, believe it or not, it's actually an opportunity for meditation. And meditation, I'm going to interject the word relaxation, right? because you don't need to have a whole big production. Even when you're drinking your water, if you slow down, even drinking water can be an opportunity for a living meditation. Just to be aware, it's quieting down. It's something that's very internal. Someone asked yesterday, "What does that look like? What does that look? What does it look like?" Right? Mindfulness or the relaxation. She was asking certain subtleties what they look like. First of all, something to be experienced. So I usually communicate kind of like in pictures. I like to draw examples. And then there's something for you to experience. If you don't have your own experience, you don't have anything to compare or contrast or get feedback. And that's sometimes what can have us hopping all around to folks for advice, but the subtleties and the nuances you won't get until you actually get into action, until you actually try something out. So, getting into action around breathing, actually doing one or two movements, right? Even if you feel a little silly, trying certain things on for size and doing certain things over a period of time, that's the only way you're going to get some experience and be able to compare and contrast and see if something is for you, right? And it takes some time to develop a listening. It's not until sometimes you start to embark on relaxation and being mindful and breathing that you may realize one, like, oh my gosh, my hearing is shot, or my ability to listen and to focus is shot because I just haven't accessed or I haven't used it in so long, or I've never been quiet. There's so much noise. There's an extreme amount of noise. I would even say it's rattling to the senses. So we may not realize we're on noise mode all the time, most of the day, to the point we can't even relax, or we may be thrown off when it's too much quiet. Isn't that interesting? So, the other thing I wanted to touch on this morning, I don't want to go on too long, is just a question as we go into relaxation, the practice of relaxation. A question that I'd like you to consider, in your private, quiet moments. How do you, or how are you treating yourself? So usually it's easy for us, in the climate of social media, like, oh, I treat myself good. I buy myself nice clothes. I do all the stuff externally. But here I like to get to, or at least explore the root of our self-sabotaging behaviors. All of us have them to greater or lesser degrees. I like to get to the root, right, and have a healthy curiosity about the root of our self-sabotaging behaviors. And I like to get to the root and look at the patterns of the times where we're the most motivated to get into action, where it seems effortless. How can we capture that, get a mental snapshot of what that feels like, and to wash, rinse, repeat, as they say, to get a repeat performance of those times where it seems like we're effortlessly excited to get into action around things that excite us, right? So maybe perhaps you'll dig into your memory to find out if it was a time when you're doing something athletic or creative, or you felt really, really confident about something that you were doing. If you can go back and you can unpack what it feels like, when you're in that, what athletes would what's called your flow state, where you're not thinking intellectually, you're into performance, you're in your dean, you're in your state of excellence. Everyone has that. Everyone has it. There's an excellence, something that you could keep doing and doing and doing, where you're not even interested in any kind of food, right? You just want to keep performing. I would say we're all like a musical note. And when you hit that note, there's a harmony. So that could be painting, that could be something athletic. Maybe you forgot what that is, or maybe you've gotten so busy and so focused on your obligations that you may feel like you don't have time for those things that you do effortlessly. And I invite you to consider uh, what I invite you to consider How does that feel that you don't have time for something that's really, really, really important to you? I know to me that's like a sadness. That is something that will make you want to medicate, right? And to zone out. So, how are you treating yourself? Are you giving yourself, now I hear all the time, gifts and clothes and stuff like that. But there's something again, there's some nutrition, I would even say, that is beyond the clothing. I love nice things. But there's some other stuff that I like to experience. There's certain experiences that are like gift moments, right? There are some moments that are so valuable to me, some of my best memories. And usually when I think of best memories, it's not just clothes, they are experiences. So are you allowing yourself to have those kinds of experiences? And again, just like breathing, there's certain things that we actually have access to. We may kind of disregard because it may not be perfect, or you're not in this space, you don't have this coach or that coach, you don't allow yourself to dance. You don't allow yourself to be a dancer, right? Some things I like: being a dancer, being an athlete, um, being a wonderful chef. These are things that I do on my own. Speaking languages, these are things that I've always wanted to do. So I give myself permission to do those things. I love meeting new people, having new experiences, seeing new sites geographically. Are you allowing yourself to see or have those experiences? Are you being creative? Do you have it on your radar so you can experience it now, today? So if you open your mind, or you may perhaps be thinking, I can't do that. See, that is kind of not bad, not wrong, but it's limiting. And do you want to exit the planet not having certain experiences? I don't think so. So, how are you treating yourself? So, I invite you to think of the conch shell, right? And of the listening to the sound of the ocean. And you're welcome to take a comfortable position. If you have issues with your knees or your back, you can find a chair where you can sit upright and tilt the bowl of your pelvis upright so you're not pinching your lower back. Your eyes can be open or closed. You want to keep a lot of space between your shoulder and your ear so you have good blood flow. I'm just going to take a moment to just relax and take some deep breaths. Right? No guru required. So now perhaps it's a good time to ask a question of your own divine, onboard, innate intelligence. Maybe perhaps something that you're working on or working through. If there's a vice that you have that's been around for a long time that may be sabotaging actually the results that you want, advice that is out of alignment with the things that you say that you would like to experience, I invite you without demonizing it to ask a question of your own divine onboard innate intelligence. And as you're moving around quietly in the early day, allow the answer to come up, right? Not from the ego, that primal part of ourselves that does have a purpose, right? But it's usually not very logical because stuffing ourselves full of too much food is actually not logical, but is a purpose. It's something that we're covering up and also that we're comforting and that we're appeasing. So I invite you to get quiet, to ask quality questions so you can get quality answers, right? And usually you can hear in the quiet. And as you're moving around, maybe today or maybe tomorrow, allow it to come up for yourself so you can cultivate a listening in quiet and you can cultivate a trust for yourself. And I'll give you another little gem. Trust and confidence will come when you get into action. In particular, some very specific areas around movement, a movement practice will help you gain and develop and cultivate a trust in yourself because you're keeping your word and caring for yourself. And so, even if initially, if that's just for a few moments, it has a lot of leverage. What that will do for you psychologically, and you're treating yourself well. I know marketers will have us feel that eating a bunch of ice cream is actually treating us well. However, in your quiet moments, if you ask questions, look at your results. It's a backdoor mentality that's coming in. I invite you to really consider a lot of what's being marketed to us. There's a narrative also with it, right? So there are types of nice cream and delicious treats that you can have. However, I invite you to be wary and to question when you're relying on food only as a crutch, even if it's healthy food, if it's, a lot of heavy things and just sweet things, right? And you avoid, like the plague, you're avoiding bitters. I take bitters to be a whole entire food group that's very, very necessary. So it takes some maturity and it takes courage to take bitters. There's a definite place for bitters, and I like they're the most healing foods and herbs, right? And so even with bitters, there's some other things for us to explore, like our movement practice. These are things are critical in treating ourselves well. So if we want to attract good treatment and folks that treat us well, then it would make sense that we treat ourselves well. And if we want to be treated well consistently, wouldn't it make sense that we treat ourselves well consistently? And that may be something that you have to cultivate as a habit, just like we treat other people how to treat us. Only we know in our quiet moments how we're treating ourselves well. And even though we can put makeup on, we can put nice clothes on, it's energetic. It's something that's it's an energy that you will carry. And the nuances of it, for anyone that's paying attention, the nuances of it show up when you treat yourself well. One of the clues is what you will allow from yourself, right? What you will allow from the primal ego, the immature part of yourself. What you will allow from yourself. What you will allow from others, right? Some huge cues as to how well you treat yourself and what you allow. If you don't allow the immature part of yourself to take over, and to guide your direction, then likely you won't allow that from others. So this is why I really encourage you to get quiet. I invite you to cultivate a craving for bitters, right? Especially in your own garden, and to cultivate a taste and a satisfaction from quiet. I know it seems overly simple. And I invite you to really celebrate your divinely assigned body parts and to keep them pristinely healthy. The care, this is energetic. It's something that's palpable. It's something that can be perceived and to make peace And we talked about this yesterday, right? So you can replay yesterday. I invite you to take 1000% accountability for what's coming out of you, what your skin is showing you, for all the stuff, not just folks say me, I'm cleansing, girl, I cut all my carbs out and I've been doing it for a couple of days. All the stuff that we did before, all the stuff that we allowed from ourselves first and we allow from other people. We have to pay the bill for that. Stuff that has been put in has to come out gently. Don't be too aggressive. Be respectful. I invite you to be respectful of your body temple, to slow down, not to aggressively make it go thrash it all around the place and make it go from one extreme to another. Sometimes it's too much and the body will rebel. We need to respect the body. That's like from taking off from 0 to 100 with fitness, and you're not respecting the fact that your body may be deconditioned. You're making it do too much at one time. So it's a sweet spot. So all of these different things we go over in the cocoon. And for folks that are interested in going on that journey to really upgrade your peaceful consumption to yourself, or really just upgrading your food as a lifestyle, not dieting, and cultivating a movement practice, working around your injuries. It's just like everybody can grow something. There's something that everybody can do as a movement practice, and do it first because it makes you feel better. You don't have to worry about what you look like. Again, that's the other part of ourselves. It's not at the root. It's not at the root. If you're feeling better, again, I'm giving you a gem.